Attention! The National Weather Service has issued a hurricane warning for the entirety of the National Hockey League. Please stay tuned for further information from the Storm Cellar.
Welcome back to the Storm Cellar shellacking edition, for lack of a better word. I think the problem was, Ray, I didn't watch the game yesterday. I was doing family stuff. But, I mean, eight in a row. And what I said on social media was, instead of being 9-1 in your last 10, you're 8-2. Panic appropriately.
Yeah.
Thinking of Squirrely Dan in the ice fishing scene. Panic appropriate.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. You dropped I mean, Jacob Slavin had his worst game in like 10 years. Like,
Man,
it is what it is.
He struggled a little bit.
I didn't watch the whole game. I saw the highlights. It sounds like they had compete, and that's all we ever asked for. It's like you lose. Sometimes you compete and you lose, but you do have to compete, and they competed. So,
yeah, they were being
Anaheim.
Yeah, they were being crushed, and in the third period, you could see them still hustling and pushing hard, and that's really all that I wanted. They didn't mail it in and stuff. And when you look at a season, sometimes you have those games where you just flush it down. You flush down the tape and all the rest of it. I'll tell you what. These guys aren't crap, and we won't be flushing them down either. We've got some amazing guests lined up for you. This one, we've been planning for a little while, and it's going to be a unique one for us because it is a round table. I said, guys, both Detroit Red Wing fans, and we are going to look at, and there is a history for the Hurricanes and the Red Wings, and it is a true delight for me to have two guys that I've known for a long time. One I went to college with, the other I grew up with. He's stuck being related to me. Greg Schmier, my cousin, and Shane Rebelke, who went to college with us, a college that is now a university. So that'll tell you how long ago and how long we've known each other. Guys, thank you so much for coming to the Storm Cellar. Pull up a chair and let's talk hockey.
Awesome. Excited to be here.
Yeah, that's perfect for me. So
Awesome. So, look, the way it always is for us, and I know you guys listen to the show, which is great. Now, look, we're number one in Liechtenstein, but you guys, because you've listened, we are now ranked 2,384 in North America. We really appreciate your support. We're climbing the charts, and it's all thanks to you. So thank you so much.
Hey,
once you get into the top 2,385, I mean, it's the sky's the limit. Once you break that barrier, that's the key.
Last time I was in Liechtenstein, they were talking about you a lot.
See, that's right. That's right. Infamous. I can't remember. Anyway, because you've listened, you know what we're all about. We like to really focus on the fans. That's our first and foremost, and then we dive into the season, hockey. We talk about it all. So we always believed that the fans are the fuel to the fire. And we want to know how you two became the wind beneath the Red Wings.
Oh.
You like that? That was
I like that.
I was saving that for this. I thought, it'd be perfect. You know what, Shane, I love you, but Greg's my cousin. I got a familial nepotism. We're going to go with Greg first and then follow up with you if that's okay.
Yeah, that's
Greg,
totally cool.
I know how it happened, but everyone else, in Liechtenstein doesn't know. And so we want to hear it from you. The Red Wings. How did you become a Wings fan?
The origin story. So I was a Red Wings fan pre-Yzerman. So this is back in the Dead Wings era.
Oh, man.
So basically, back in grade 3. So we had intramural, like middle of winter, -40 in Bonnyville. So they don't send the kids out.
No.
too often. So we had floor hockey. So grade 3 intramural floor hockey, and they had split up the kids into teams. So there were 20 kids that were team captains. I got chosen to be one of them, and I also got chosen to be one of the last ones to pick my team. So everybody, obviously Edmonton, Islanders, all the Canadian teams went first. By the time I picked 19th out of the 20 kids, it was between Detroit, New Jersey, and Pittsburgh. New Jersey and Pittsburgh were worse than Detroit. So I chose the Red Wings, and as soon as I got home, and that's all I wanted, I just tried to immerse myself. Look, every time, again, no internet back then, so you're like looking every Tuesday when the newspapers would put out the stats package, like, oh, that's my team. And I learned all the players like Johnny Ogrodnik and Danny Gare, Ivan Boldarev, Greg Steppen. Like that's my origin. So yeah, I started with that team and I went full on.
And full on it was, Greg. I remember those days, and you know, hell or high water, you were with them. And like you said, the Dead Wings, and you took it in stride, and you said, like, look, this is my team, and no matter how awful they can be, I still love these guys. And I'm sorry, that sounds like a shot, but the Hurricanes went through the dark days too.
The Whalers weren't too much better back then either.
No, they weren't. No, they weren't. The Whalers struggled as well. And, and I stayed with them too. So kind of cut from the same cloth. You can kind of make sense that we're related. Shane, what about you? I didn't grow up with you, but I knew you were a Wings fan right off the start in college. You could tell. Tell me all about it. Where did your origins come from?
Well, it sounds like it's probably about the same time as your cousin there. Probably about 1973. It was really very random. I went over to my friend Miles's place, and I wanted to go outside and play. And it was a Saturday night. Him and his dad were sitting in their living room, and they were watching a hockey game. And he said, "Oh, can we wait about 15 minutes? I just want to finish watching the hockey game with my dad." I was like, "Sure." I look at the screen, and there's a team wearing blue and white, and there's a team wearing red and white. And I said, "Oh, who's playing?" My friend Miles says, "Toronto Maple Leafs and Detroit Red Wings." And I said, "Who are you guys cheering for?" And they said, "Detroit." They said Toronto. I said, "Well, which team is that?" They said, "The blue team." They said, "Who are you cheering for?" And I looked at the two teams and I thought, well, which uniforms do I like better? And I definitely like that really cool wing on the white jersey. And I was like, oh, I like those guys, knowing really nothing about hockey. I was probably 7 years old at the time. And I was interested in hockey, but didn't know anything about it. And then I asked what the score was, and it was 3-1 Toronto. There was about 10 minutes left in the period, and my team ended up coming back and winning by 1 goal. And that just locked me in for the next, up until now. I've always been a diehard Red Wing fan. They were the Dead Wings at the time, but I just stuck with them. Then, of course, Stevie came along, and they had little bouts of dynasty here and there, and they've served me well.
You know what? That's so funny that, and Greg mentioned it just like you. There's that one player, right? One player that kind of locks you in. And I was a Whalers fan, I loved them. But then Ron Francis comes along, and that's it.
For me, it was Dad Zook. Dad Zook was the one that really locked me into place.
That's
the magic
awesome.
man.
And now, Greg, I'm trying to. Was it a Grodnik for you? You talked about him a lot, but
the Motown Machine Gun.
Yeah, I love that.
That's my guy.
They had the best nicknames. The Motown Machine Gun. Brad,
the best, like back then, a little bit later in that era there, when again the Dead Wing era when they had Gilbert Delorme and Lee Norwood as a defense pair, hack 'em and whack 'em. I remember them being called that in the hockey news. That was when whack them. It's like that.
good.
Those were the guys. Like Gilbert Delorme, like he was just a warrior out there.
No kidding. No
I had
kidding.
nicknames for the O2 wings, but I can't say those on our family friendly show.
Oh, no.
Yeah, well, you know what, Brad? Unfortunately, that's the reason why I brought these two on. We see, here's the thing. Sometimes we can be self-deprecating. We can torture ourselves with some games, just like the game yesterday. I sat through the whole thing. I watched it all right to the very end. And it was, well, it was awful. I mean, but I stayed with it and watched it and I tortured myself. And the 2002 Stanley Cup Final, it's why I brought these two guys on so we could do a little bit of reminiscing and bring the listenership to the past. Some of our listeners, some of our fans, they know of the final, but they didn't experience it. And I know, Brad, you were there for the triple overtime game.
Yes, I was.
Like in the building. So
Wow.
this is a chance for us to actually talk about the final. And I'm going to start it off by simply asking all of you. I'll ask all of you, how many Hall of Famers, so we'll start with the Wings. How many Hall of Famers were in the lineup for the 2002 Red Wings? How many Hall of Famers? And if you can name them, you get bonus points. That will mean nothing, but it'll just prove. So go ahead, fire them off, name them.
Oh, I'm going to have to right off the bat. Yzerman.
Okay.
Probably Chelios.
Yeah, so there's 10. I know that for sure.
There's 10. Shanahan, Hull. Oh.
Lidstrom, perfect human.
Lidstrom. Yeah.
Greg, keep firing them off.
The Dominator in net.
Yeah.
Oh, Dominic Classic. Yes, obviously.
Trying to think now.
Man, they were just stacked.
Yeah. Is Robitaille in the Hall of Fame?
Yes, he is.
Luke
yes,
He is. Okay.
Yeah.
So
you've got 1, 2, 3. You've actually got 4 left. I'm including.
we have 4 left. Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Include the coach.
I am including.
Oh,
Okay, so
Scotty Bowman.
Okay, yeah.
Scotty Bowman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
you know what? One name has already been mentioned today. Shane.
Pavel Datsyuk.
Yes. Datsuk was part of it as
Yeah,
well.
that's right. He just got inducted there. Yeah.
And there's 2 left, and they're both Russian.
Oh, Larry Onov.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Last one.
Got her off.
Thank you. There it is.
That's good, man.
guys
That's
you
right off
guys
the top of
are
your head. That's good, guys. Hold
you
on.
guys are
Hey,
friggin' champs.
as a Canes fan, Ray, can I give you the Canes Hall of Famers?
There was a lot of them.
Yeah.
Ron Francis.
Yeah, the only
Done.
one that mattered.
Done.
Yeah,
The only
Ron. Yeah,
I mean, but to set the stage, because you're starting with that, right?
yeah,
The Hurricanes finished the season with 91 points.
yes,
The Red Wings finished the season President's Trophy winners, 116 points.
Whew.
In the offseason, they brought in Robitaille, Hull, Hasek, and Datsuk to an already stacked lineup, right? So, people talk like, kind of the David versus Goliath kind of situation set up in sports. This was one of them. As a Canes fan going into this, we were super excited, but the ones who had been watching hockey a while were like, this may not go well. I think Ray's locked up here. For me, it was not so much a David versus Goliath, because I was like, okay, they have a shot. Like, they got here, things have to go right for them. But for me, it was don't embarrass yourself. Just play well, right? This was our first chance. The team had only been in Carolina for a handful of years. Like, just put up a good show. Like, there's very losing to the 2002 Red Wings is not embarrassing if you're the Hurricanes, but it should have been embarrassing if you were any of the teams in the league because it literally was a Hall of Fame team, right? So if y'all want to speak, like, how did you feel going into maybe into the season, knowing those offseason moves, and then as things kind of went through the season and you see what's going on? Sorry. YouTube is like in my ear for some reason. So anyway, but yeah. So how did you guys feel about the season, like in general, like leading up to the playoffs? You got to be feeling pretty good. Like you're in the, you're, as I recall, was pretty handily going to take the President's Trophy. No injuries. Like you have Hasek.
Yeah.
There was an injury. That was the year Steve Yzerman was playing on one knee.
That's right.
So that's because he was out and he had that surgery. He was out, and I remember he played like one game before the Olympics. And because he was telling Wayne Gretzky, who was the GM of it, which he said might not be able to make it, and Gretzky told him, play a game, try it. If you can play it all, we'll take you. And I think that was, as good as Detroit was, having Yzerman play as well as he did in the Olympics, I think that kind of set the team on that course where this team, they are going to win. Like, I just remember, like, back then, Detroit always, their roster was loaded. Every offseason, every trade deadline, it's like, hey, who are we getting now? Like it was like Christmas morning on free agent day open of free agency, right? Because sky was the limit. Like they'd sign anybody they could. But that I just remember that Yzerman, the way he played in the Olympics, when he came back, that just seemed to galvanize the team, and it just seemed like they are locked in now.
They were so, that team, I think it was, if I'm going to be honest, I think that might have been the greatest.
I think Ray's having issue. We had internet issues with Ray last week. I don't know. It must be something in his. It must be something on his end because all of us are connected.
Yeah, we're all good.
Myself. Yeah, I kind of have the same opinion there. I mean, going into that season and the playoffs, that's probably the most stacked team I've ever seen. If I hadn't have been a Red Wings fan, I would have probably hated seeing that team, and I'd have been like, "Oh, they're the New York Yankees of hockey," and But yeah, that was definitely a team, and I just rewatched the playoff run here a couple of days ago on YouTube, and I remember, Yzerman played through that with a lot of pain, like a true hockey player.
Yeah.
Yeah, that team had a lot of grit. I think the only thing that could have stopped that team was clash of personalities, just because there was so much talent. Luckily, that didn't happen.
And that's, when you have an all-star, when you have like an all-star / hockey Hall of Fame caliber team, right? That's the one thing that can bite you is everybody's used to being the guy and wants to be the guy. So who's going to be willing to say, I'm going to take on a limited role for the betterment of the team? And I think the Red Wings did that across the board. Ken Holland, I think, was the general manager of that team. And he put together what is probably one of the top 4 or 5 all-time NHL lineups.
Oh, I would say so. Yeah. That
they did have that.
Sorry, I was just going to say that team could have taken on any other team I can think of in hockey history, and probably come out on top.
Yeah, and like you said, they did have that buy-in. Like Luc Robitaille, like he came in with no ego. Brett Hull in the playoffs, he was playing. They called it the 2 kids in the goat line. He was playing with Pavel Datsyuk and Boyd Devereaux on the third line.
Yeah,
Brett Hull, like one of the greatest scorers of all time.
Right,
and he loved that line. Like
he produced on that line too.
He produced on that exactly.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: so you're at that point, you've gone through like the Dead Wings era. The team is good. You're facing off against upstart, Carolina Hurricanes. I bet you both still called them the Whalers that time or the Whaler Canes just because everybody else did, right? How did you feel going into the matchup? Were you incredibly confident? Were you optimistic? Were you like, oh, this is going to be, because a lot of people in Detroit were calling for a sweep. I personally still hate Mitch Albom for the articles he wrote that he did exactly what he was trying to do, right? Sell papers and make Carolina fans mad and pump up Red Wings because it was, oh, this is going to be a sweep. Hockey doesn't belong in Carolina. The whole shebang. I was young. To this day, like whenever I hear Warren Zevons hit somebody, and I know that Mitch is the background voice, and I'm like, I like this song. I really don't like that guy though. But how did you guys feel going into the series once you knew who the opponent was? Like, and be honest. I mean, if you were like, oh, we were going to just kill you guys, I mean, that's a fair assessment.
I was pretty much 100% sure they would win the series. I was not all that confident in a sweep. I figured it would be, I've been around long enough to see the best of teams get a little too confident, and a little too comfortable. And the Hurricanes they weren't a slouch of a team. I figured they'd pull one out to try and extend the series a little bit. So it kind of played out the way I figured it was. I was much more nervous about the Red Wings Avalanche series than I was about the finals.
Fair. Very fair.
So,
that's exact same. It's like Colorado beating Colorado. That was the cup. Like that, as a Red Wings fan, like
once they won
came
that
out of the East
was predetermined. Then,
yeah, exactly. That's right. So whoever came out of the East was like, okay, we got past Colorado. That's the nemesis. That's the second best team. You got to beat Colorado. You can beat anybody, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I also was like not going to just write off Carolina as like, well, they're not going to win a game, because I also remember what happened in round 1 against Vancouver, down 2-0.
Yeah.
After 2 in Detroit to go down 0-2, and then game 3, things were not looking good until Nick Lidstrom walked over center ice and put one past Dan Cloutier and changed the series right there, because Detroit could have been out first round. Like, it was not looking good from the start. So,
and that's what's fun about playoff hockey is you don't know, right? We have expectations and we're pretty sure this is how things might shake out, and then the Toronto Maple Leafs might be the best example of a team that's pretty good, and they get up by 2 or 3 games, and then it all just implodes, and it's a mental hurdle they just can't get over, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, welcome back, Ray. We talked a little bit about how Ken Holland put together one of the top teams all time, NHL teams all time, and maybe even outside the NHL. I mean, you could put that team up against most Olympic teams, against the old Soviet versus NHL All-Star games and things. And that Red Wings lineup would compete with any of them, I think. And then we were just talking about how Shane and Greg were honest in that they were pretty sure they were going to wipe, Carolina off the map in the series. They didn't think they were going to necessarily sweep, but they both agreed that Colorado Avalanche Red Wings Western Conference Final was kind of the big moment, right? Like, that was kind of the climactic moment of anticipation. Like, winning the cup is obviously a bigger moment, but the expectation was, can we get by the Avalanche? And if we can, fairly smooth sailing. I mean, Carolina was a bunch of grinders, right? Not high end guys. They just like today, they played stingy defense. They did score a lot of goals. So that's kind of where we're at, Ray.
And the best part, the happiest moment for me was the very quick overtime goal in game 1. The fact that, first of all, it was Ron Francis who scored it, but it was devastating because the Wings scored to tie the game with less than 2 minutes. Like, it almost was ended in regulation, if I recall. No, sorry, that was the triple overtime one.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, there was this feeling that there's just no chance. And in overtime, you know what? It's Hasek, right? And it's all of these Hall of Famers. And the fact that it was Ron Francis so quick, under a minute, and they scored and the game was over, and you could hear it in the announcer's voice, like, stunned. with the game's over, Carolina's celebrating. What's going on here? And it was nice to have the experts at that point say, you know what, we might actually have a series here. I mean, the Wings are still going to win, but look at these plucky Canes, right? Look at them all. And it was fantastic. And what was really great, not a single game, not one, either way, did one team score more than 3 goals. Like, that was it. The games were tight. And that's what you kind of appreciate. And I mean, Hasek, I can't recall how many times he made these Gumby saves that he always made. And it was just like how the frustration you could feel, right? It was coming through because there was goals that were there that should have been scored. And Hasek was just whatever. And Archie was keeping the Canes in it too. Like, he was wandering around as always, and we wanted to put a chain on him, much the way Kochetkov plays now.
Yeah.
But he made some sensational saves too in those old pads and that mask. I mean, Archie's mask. Now it wasn't much different than Hasek's, because Hasek's was kind of like that too. It was great, but I mean, it was such a great series. I wanted to focus on the triple overtime game. Like, I mean, it was easier for us, of course, because the fans in the West have it great, because the games start and end, before the wee hours in the morning. Brad was in the building from the start and stayed with it the whole time. And he always says that he didn't fall asleep. And how could you fall asleep at triple overtime? But there was people sleeping in the stands too. Like, they just couldn't keep their eyes open.
There were a lot of kids.
Yeah,
a lot of kids
lots
asleep,
of kids.
but they were there.
Let's talk about it, guys. When you go to overtime again, and I was like, you know what? Anything can happen. Game 1 was overtime. Game 3, and it looked like it wasn't going to end. Like, the series was actually won. They say officially it's at 5. The game was 1-6. I mean, let's be honest. Like, how long those games were. That one in particular, guys. What were you thinking about that one? Game 3 in Raleigh. Who stood tall? I mean, okay. So, Brad, talk about the fans in Game 3 when they got fired up. First of all,
so rest in peace, Kane's, legend. Maybe not the best player we ever had, but just the nicest guy, like the Czech Condor, right? Josef Vasicek opens the scoring in the first period from Marty Jelena, who's still my wife's favorite player, I think, and Glenn Wesley, and the place went nuts. Because now the series is 1-1. You're up in your building. You just have to hold serve, right? If they score a goal, just get one back. Like, you just keep things even, and you're up. That goes through the first period. Second period, I mean, this is when the loudest house in the NHL thing kind of really got rolling, because it was intense. Second period, Larionov scores to tie it up. Third period, Jeff O'Neill scores pretty quickly, 7.5 minutes in. And you're like, awesome. We have 13 minutes. Just don't give up a goal for 13 minutes. You've been playing really good D. The whole thing's on. And then the guy we were talking about earlier, right? Hull, from Lidstrom and Fedorov at 18:46. 1 minute, 14 seconds to go in the game, and they give up that goal. And you could feel the air let out of the building briefly. It was definitely one of those like, okay, it's just like the players. Within the last 2 minutes, like, you just get to the end of the period, and then when something happens, you're like, crap, we're just trying to get to the end of the period.
And Hasek was pulled, wasn't he? Like, Hasek was out of the net.
I think so. Yeah, I believe he was at that point.
He was out of the net. Yeah.
Yeah. The big thing with the overtimes, as far as fan reactions, was there were 2 penalties in the first overtime. So both of those, of course, are like, and actually, I think the 2 roughings in the first period, I think, were simultaneous. Second period, or the second overtime, excuse me, Eric Cole went to the box, and then Allison went to the box separately. So now you have a power play in overtime, 1 for each team, and that definitely, like, you could feel the tension in the air because either team has a chance there. Carolina had their chance first. And surprise, surprise, power play didn't score. Modern Canes fans know what that feels like.
No kidding.
The fact that Detroit didn't score says a lot about our defense. And then same thing, third overtime, everybody's tired, but the seats are still pretty much full. There are people asleep and whatnot, but nobody's leaving. And same thing, you get to, basically the 15-minute mark, and you're just like, okay, like, 5 more minutes, probably nothing's going to happen. You just get to the locker room and rest and try and come out, and you're just trying to win one early in an OT, right, before the other team gets settled. And Larionov from Holmstrom and Duchesne, and boom, 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 it's in the net. And I've said this before, I've never heard a place that has 20,000 people in it be more quiet. I mean, you could hear the Detroit players on the ice celebrating from my seats in the front of the 300s. It was because it was just one of those, like, this isn't the way this is supposed to end. Like, this isn't what is supposed to happen. Like, we know we may not win the series, but, like, we had this one. And, I think it was Ron Francis who said, had we won that game, I think there's a legit chance at that point, maybe you can take the series, because then the guys are really starting to believe. So the fact that they played 2 full games practically and then lost in OT, I think at that point, part of the, my ride home to Clayton, guys, that's like a 30-minute drive from the arena. And I don't even think my wife and I said a word to each other. We were just zoned out. Like, I can't believe that happened. And I think at that point, you almost kind of knew. You're like, this is just not going to be our year, right? It's that was, for me, that hurt worse than Game 5, because at that point, you watch Game 4 and the Red Wings take it to them 3-0, and you're like, okay, the Red Wings are going to show you who they really are. There's just nothing you can do. So Game 3 is the one that still hurts.
Guys, what about you? First overtime, I'm sure you figured, we've got a good shot in this one and we'll likely win. But after it gets through that first overtime, what were you guys feeling? Was there any concern at all? And it's okay if you didn't have any, because again, the lineups were much, much different. So I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
I definitely had concerns the longer the game went on. I recognized it as being one of those games where all it takes, guys are tired, right? All it takes is a weird bounce. You just don't know what's going to happen. And he's right. Had Carolina won that game, that could have been a pivotal moment. Luckily, they didn't. But
no, that's okay.
It totally could have changed their whole attitude, right? We all know sometimes in a big series like that, it can just take one pivotal moment to change everything.
Greg, what about you?
Yeah, the problem with the playoffs is they happen right during the busiest part of farming. So I didn't actually see. I'm actually glad I went to triple overtime, because I think I started watching the middle of the second overtime.
Oh, wow.
By the time I was able to get in and actually watch, so I was like, this is perfect. It's a late, long game, but you're confident. But again, it could bank in off a state. It doesn't matter. Most talented teams a lot of times doesn't win in overtime, right? It comes down to that grit. It comes down to a lucky play. One lost battle in the corner could end your game right there, right? And again, it was, you have Hasek in net, so you have that level of confidence, I guess, because he is gonna save your bacon in a lot of those plays. He'll make saves that you don't think are humanly possible, but he would contort his body and somehow do it.
The Gumby save. Yeah.
The Gumby save, exactly. So again, you're confident, but again, you're not sitting there like this is guaranteed. Like, and kind of like what Shane said, like if Detroit loses that game, that could have definitely changed that series, right? Like it would have been like I'm sure it was deflating to Carolina, so I'm sure that would have had that same effect on Detroit, especially it was game 4 in Raleigh, right? Like they're in their home barn coming off a triple overtime win. I mean, they got that momentum, right? So
Yeah.
that would have been that was pivotal, right? That was the pivotal moment in that series.
Brad, I know you got something to add, especially about that game.
So particularly game 3, but also the whole series. So Larionov is the guy who scores that triple overtime winner. He shot 37.5% for that series.
Holy
That's
cow.
nuts. I mean, compared
Wow.
to, I'm just going to pull a name out of a hat, Mikko Rantanen, who was shooting 5% for the Canes. I'm just saying that's a big difference. I mean, 37.5% over a Stanley Cup Final series, unbelievable.
Didn't we put a embargo on saying that name in particular, Brad? I
I
thought
don't know. I feel like if we did, maybe I blocked that out.
Oh, there you go. I don't blame you. Look, for me, much like Greg, I was working too, but not on the farm and not for game 3. Game 5, I was working, plucky reporter for the radio station in Westlock and had to go to a town council meeting. And I remember not paying one lick of attention to the mayor and council at all, what they were saying. They could have been declaring war on Barhead. It wouldn't have mattered. I just wasn't paying attention. And it's not because I could actually see the game. It was I was just worried the whole time. Like I just wanted another win. I wanted this to keep going. Greg, partly for you because I just didn't want you to have that held over me. I mean, I love you, your family, but I just wanted something longer, And I find out that the game's over. Detroit wins, and I remember getting a message out to you to say congratulations, because that Wings team was just so amazing. I've never been happier to not watch a Canes game than that particular moment. It was so difficult, but also proud, also very, very proud of that particular team, and to scare the life out of Wings fans. I mean, there's a lot of them that say that it was always in the bag, but that triple overtime game showed that you could stay with a Hall of Fame greatest ever hockey team ever, and we could stay with them. And it was kind of a foreshadow of what was to come. There was a lot of people that cracked on the Hurricanes being in Raleigh, and hockey will never work in the South, especially in Raleigh. And they're in the Cup final, 5 years after the move. Like that was unheard of. That kind of success unheard of. And then 4 years after that, Brind'Amour's hoisting the cup. I mean, it was great. And I don't know if you got being here in Calgary, I mean, leave it to Calgary for me not to be able to stay online with you the whole time. Um, I gotta say, my favorite line, I think, of all time, was the BBC line. Was Brind'Amour, Battaglia, Cole. I loved that line. There was something about it that was magical. And, Jeff O'Neill and Ron Francis and Kapanen, man, that's a pretty good line there too. You know what I mean? Like maybe not as powerful as the Wings, but goodness, having like Sammy Kapanen. I'm wearing my Finland jersey for Aho now. And Kapanen, he was Sammy Kapanen was so fast. You know what I mean? So fast and quick. I remember him putting the boots to the Oilers once. It was like they beat the Oilers 7-2. I was in the barn and I I was beaming with joy that Kapanen had that time. And to see him out there along with Francis, who was my favorite player of all time, it was it was just a great series. It was a great series, despite, as a Canes point, the loss. It was a great series, and it kind of put us on the map. And I know, Brad, you're wanting to jump in there. I saw the hand go up, and I don't know. Take it
So, I
away.
mean, just real quick. So we kind of went through the Detroit roster, right? I mean, Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer, All Star after All Star.
Yeah,
Just for Canes fans listening who are newer and may not know, I would not expect you to know some of these names. So David Tanabe had gotten knocked out earlier in the playoffs. He didn't play, but he would have been one of your top blue liners at that point. Not top pair, but I just mean he would have been one of your top six.
yep,
Craig McDonald, Craig Adams, Tommy Westland, Yaroslav Svoboda. I mean, guys who were good for us, like loved them as players.
yeah,
But when you compare that to Lidstrom, Dandino, Chelios, Shanahan, Hall, one set of those names, most hockey fans goes, "Oh, I recognize those names," and the other set,
yeah,
only old Carolina Hurricanes fans or real old hockey fans who just love the sport in general go, "Oh, I remember those guys." I mean, people probably don't remember Craig Adams, who we called Hands of Feet, because the dude could
yeah,
not he couldn't score a goal to save his life, right?
yeah,
Love the guy. Tommy Westland, we have a expression in the South of something in vinegar. He was one of those guys. Like, he was great to be out there. Jeff Daniels was on that team.
yeah,
And like you said, we love those guys, but in terms of star power, I mean, it was not comparable. So it was definitely going back to like the David Goliath thing. It really was like the who is and who is not of the NHL. But it also showed that, you know, kind of from the movie Miracle, I don't need the best guys, I need the right guys. And if you get the right guys and they're all clicking at the same time, you can make things move. So
Shane, you want to jump in there? I saw that.
Yeah, I was just thinking about, he was saying how stacked that team was, and a lot of unrecognizable names from the Canes, and it just made me think of one player that was on the roster of the Red Wings that year, and at the time nobody would have known who he was, but they do now, which is Sean Avery,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Sean
Whoa,
Avery.
I
Right? At the
forgot he
time,
was on that team.
and in 2002, everybody, who's Sean Avery, right? He's not nobody.
No, no,
He is the
infamous.
creator of the Sean Avery rule that we have today in the
Yeah.
NHL, for those of you who need to look that one up.
Oh man, and Brad, you talked about the names that stick out that not many people remember. You've already spoke about him, Vasicek, and again, rest his soul. It was so sad to see him pass. He, I believe, had was it a series winning goal or was a game winning goal? In one of the series, it was like he was the hero and he kept going on a big body out there and skated hard and like, you know, it's certain players, like as fans, we all have different reasons why we like the teams that we like and we like the way they play. And Brad and I have said it for the Hurricanes, they've always been kind of a lunch pail team. We may not have the best players, but we will outwork you. And that's what I want to see. And if the guys are giving their all every night, you can see it and it makes you feel good because everyone knows no team is going to go 82-0 and then 96-0. right? Like no one's ever going to do that to win it all. But as long as you're working every night, I mean, that's what you want. That's what you want. Um, this wasn't as painful as I thought it was going to be talking about 2002. In fact, it was pretty enlightening. It feels pretty good. And
Yeah, it's
I mean,
exposure
you
therapy,
guys,
right?
yeah,
You just have to face it
exactly.
head on. I mean, honestly, I've relived those games many times in my head for years afterward.
Yeah.
Winning in 2006 cured a lot of ills
Oh, it
from
does, doesn't
2002, if
it?
I'm being honest.
Yeah, there's no question. Let's fast forward. Let's fast forward and talk about the teams now and so forth. And
You don't have to talk about Detroit now, do we?
yeah, well, you were willing to talk about the Dead Wings.
Oh,
Yeah.
So you brought it up. So now you're gonna have to face it head on, just the way we did.
now the
Um,
tables have turned.
well,
Yeah.
here's the thing, guys. I mean, and the Hurricanes of late have kind of they've got a streak going against the Wings. We'll still have to play them one more time, and the Wings are in the a battle for their lives in the playoffs. Like again, and just no different than last season. You're playing playoff hockey really since January. Uh, I want to hear from you guys. I don't know who wants to go first. With Shane, Greg, well, like whichever. Uh, you guys can rock paper scissors this for your takes if you like. But you know what? I went with Greg at the start before Shane. You know I love you, so let's go with you. What's your take on what's going on this season?
Uh, continuing woes. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, when McClellan came along a little while ago, they showed a little spark of life there for a few games, but yeah, I don't know what it is. I'm not very confident in what that team can do yet. I'm never going to jump off the bandwagon. I'm always going to follow what they're doing, but yeah, I just don't see enough depth in that team.
Greg, how about you? What I mean, it's got to be wearing on the players. You know what I mean? You get a coaching change in there, um, and to play playoff hockey, those 16 games potentially is hard. Like it's just hard. You guys, again, since January and maybe earlier. I mean, you guys have had that. That's the kind of games you've had to play to win, and you've got a good lineup. I mean, it's not terrible. You know what I mean? When I think of guys like Larkin and Lucas Raymond, and I mean, it's not because he's got my first name
Yeah.
as his last name, but I mean, you've got talent there. What's the difficulty? What's going on?
I think, like Shane mentioned, the depth. The depth is the worst part of going on in Detroit. Like last year was a lot more. You felt like you had a chance last year. This year, it's just like I'm as diehard and I'm cheering for them every game, hoping like a week ago they beat Vegas 3-0. Yesterday they weren't in that game. They lost 6-3. Like it's they're so Jekyll and Hyde. Just and I can't put a finger on it. Why? Uh, last year just I mean the talent wise, I think it's comparable to what they had last year. I think well, I guess that you having Ghost on Carolina this year, I think that's a big loss on Detroit. Like that is
Yeah.
a guy they should have re-signed because that I think he has hurt them quite a bit. The loss of him. They signed Gustafson, and he has not been a replacement. So I think some of the and I'm a big Stevie Yzer plan. I am all in on it, fully support it, but there was some questionable move, I think, this past off season that kind of hurt the depth that we had last year. Because last year just felt like they were never out of a game. They could score their way out of trouble. This year, if it's not the Larkin Raymond line going, or DeBrincat and Kane, like there's just you don't know if they can come back. It's just such a different feel around the team this year. And this 3 years in a row, March has just been a killer. Like you're kind of hoping, well, geez, they'll play a few good games and they'll pick up somebody at the deadline just to bolster the lineup, and then Detroit loses 5 of 6 going into the deadline, and then you get the kind of trade we got this year, like picking up Peter Mrazek and Craig Smith. Like it's not it's just not something that you're used to as a Wings fan, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I can follow that. Brad, you know what? Greg brought something up, and I'm gonna, before we get into the storm report, I'm gonna do this real quick, okay, guys? And Greg, you kind of brought it up, so we'll make this quick. We're gonna do grades of our 2 favorite players who have stayed with both teams, okay? But you're going to grade them on 2 different aspects, okay? Yzerman versus Brind'Amour. Yzerman, grade your player, then grade your management. We'll do the same, okay, for Brind'Amour. Brind'Amour, the player grade, Brind'Amour, the management aspect, okay? And, I don't know, or do you want to do it the other way around, Brad? We do for Yzerman and they do for Brind'Amour.
Either way.
Which way do you guys want to do it? Greg, Shane, which way would you like to do it?
Sure, we can do swap.
You're our guest.
Yeah, let's swap. Why not?
Well,
Okay. Then we'll do it. You know what? I'll get things going. Okay. Just to start, for Yzerman, A+. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, for crying out loud. And everything that he did was gold to me. He's a guy that I wished was on our team. And let's face it, everyone wanted Steve Yzerman. Okay? Everyone. He was just a captain through and through. So A+. Management, I'll give him a solid B. The Yzer plan, he gets cracked on it. He doesn't like it. I mean, there's been reporters that have kind of said, hey, what's going on? Your plan's not coming to fruition. And he's, cracked back on him. Like, this is a long-term plan. We're trying to build something here. But like you said, Greg, I mean, there's Mrazek's not going to be the answer. We loved him, but we knew he wasn't the answer either. For, you know what I mean? Same with, now, and I'll admit, Brad and I, when Nedeljkovic was let go to the Wings, we were stunned because we didn't have any goaltenders after that. None. Zero. He was the last goaltender that we had. So going to the Wings, we thought, holy, but that's my take. For like I said, we'll make it quick. A+ as a player, a solid B for management. Brad, I don't know if I speak for you. I would never assume you are the brains of the operation. What's your take? What's your grade?
As a player, I don't see how you don't give Steve Yzerman an A+. 3 Stanley Cups that he captained. He captained all 3 of those teams, 97, 98, 2002, Conn Smythe in 98, Lester B. Pearson in 89, 10 NHL All-Stars. I mean, 22 seasons with Detroit. I mean, that's a career any player would love to have. Like, there's not anybody out there who wouldn't want that. So A+. I don't see how you give. I mean, there's just so few knocks in his game. Yeah. I mean, you could be nitpicky, but that's what it is. It's just being nitpicky. As a manager, I will apologize in advance. he got the Tampa Bay Lightning to one Stanley Cup Finals in which he lost to the Blackhawks. Like, that's great. But mostly, I still think of him as a Red Wing. And as a Red Wing, he's, I mean, Detroit hasn't made the playoffs since 2016. And I compare the Yzer plan to the Ron Francis Carolina and then the Ron Francis Seattle plan of we're building for the future. Well, at some point you need to make the playoffs, boys. Like at some point you need to make the trade. Like the Mrazek's the perfect trade to describe what I'm talking about is. Did that trade make you better? Not really. Did that trade make you a playoff contender? No. Did it give up any assets? Not really. You basically stayed pat. You traded players, but so what? Like it didn't help you. And, to Greg's point, down the stretch, the Eastern Conference wildcard teams for the past 2 or 3 years all seem to not want to be a wildcard team. They all start going 2-8 out of 10 this time of year. And if you look down, the standings right now, the Rangers are 3-5. The Islanders are 5-3, and the 5-3 is the best of the best, right? 2-7 in Columbus, 2-8 in Detroit, 2-7 in the Bruins. But at least the Bruins traded away half their team. So, as a GM, as much as I love Stevie Y as a player, it's like a C or a C plus because C being average, right? He's not doing terrible, but he's putting the Red Wings in the position that Hurricanes were during the bad years, right? You're not so bad that you're going to get a top 5 pick, but you're not good enough to make the playoffs. So what are you doing? You're treading water, waiting to drown. Worst possible position. Better to trade away assets now and truly build for the future and actually rebuild so that you're so bad that you're down there in Blackhawks and San Jose territory where you might get some picks that really will do something for you. And just be garbage for 2 years and then rebuild. But he's doing that kind of middling, I'm sort of rebuilding, but not a full rebuild because nobody in Detroit's going to put up with that from me. And it doesn't work. So, I would like to see Stevie bring the leadership he brought as a player and either stink, trade away what you have and look 2 years and 3 years in the future and really build for a team that can compete. Or make a trade that's going to do something now, like pull a Don Sweeney in a Boston and like go all in and just see what happens. I mean, you're in the worst possible spot now.
You get a star.
Yeah, you're in the worst possible position now because you're finishing just out of the playoffs, so you're going to have a mid-level first-round pick, and you're not getting any better.
You know what, Brad? I think just very quickly, last thing on him is that. I think it's hard for Yzerman to shut off the competitor, the always want to win. To say tank, I don't know if, unless he's talking about World War II, I don't think he's got that in his vocabulary.
Yeah.
And that's hard to shut off.
And to be fair to Steve, every GM thinks that they can do it this way. We're not going to go full tank. We're going to do a pseudo rebuild and it's going to get better. And Lou Lamoriello, Don Waddell's now in Columbus. I think Don won't keep that up for long. I think Columbus looked pretty good there for a while. But when you look around the league, like it's not, Yzerman's not alone. Fans need to accept we're struggling. We either need to tank for a couple of years and then actually get better, or the process of getting better is just going to take a much longer time than any fan base wants.
All right. We've dominated that for a little bit longer. Let's turn it over to our wings. Guys, Brind'Amour, the player, Brind'Amour in management. And let's go with Greg and then to Shane.
Well, I remember Brind'Amour as a player, and he was a beast. Like Rod the Bod, right? Like he never took a shift off. Like he was somebody, I remember in the playoffs, like that, you just knew he was going to give everything. Like he would put his body on the line. He was just someone the classic lead by example, like follow me into this war and I will lead you. And I think he's just taken that straight into coaching. Like I think he was never the big pure offensive star. So I don't know if you'd call his career his playing career an A plus, maybe an A or an A minus, because he didn't have that top end scoring, I guess. But I guess he was also never counted on that to be that top end scorer. So probably a solid A. And geez, you look at what he's done. I think Rod Brind'Amour, I think there's no team wouldn't want him behind their bench. Like, he is just, I think, one of the best there is out there. So I would give an A plus.
Okay, and you, Shane?
Yeah, I have to say I agree pretty solidly with Greg's assessment there. Yeah, solid player, a real grinder, a workhorse, best quality, probably leading teammates. But yeah, I'd give him an A. I can't go with A plus because, like Greg said, that's reserved for hockey royalty like Gretzky and Yzerman. Right?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
But as far as management goes, I would definitely give him a solid A. I think. I think he's a better manager than Yzerman is. You're right in your guys' assessment of Yzerman. Definitely an A plus player, but I don't think he's being bold enough.
Yeah, you know what? And look, you had a chance to mention about Yzerman. You know what? For me, as a coach, there's some more things that I mean, I love the culture that he's created, but Brad and I'll say it, there's got to be something done about the power play. And
I was going to say they both rated Rod as a coach better than I think either of us would.
yeah, like I
Yes.
I give for the culture. The culture is A plus, but the coach himself, the one criticism that you could say is the culture that he's created and the style of team that he has is so hard to play against all regular season long, but even harder to keep playing through the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like, that's the hard part. And that's where people criticize the Hurricanes. Can't get it done in the playoffs. Well, that's exhausting. I mean, to play man to man all season long with that heavy forecheck all the time. There's times where I wish it was, maybe there's a different style there. And that power play, I mean, we need a coach for that. You need someone to get in there and muck things around, because killing off our own penalties for the other team stinks, and it still happens. And
Yeah.
the Caniacs shouldn't faint when we score a power play goal, but we do. We do. It's like, hallelujah. Oh, like, we've scored a power play goal. That's not what it's supposed to be. So, it was B plus for me. I don't know, Brad. You know what? A minus.
I give him like an A minus.
Yeah, A minus.
His inflexibility is his biggest weakness, and we have seen him starting to learn to be a little more flexible. We saw some of that with Nate just early on in the season, so it's there. And he's a young coach. He's only in his 6th year, so. But yeah, I mean, he has things that he can improve on. Like, I love this system, but yeah, you're right. It's to do that 110 games a year, it's tough.
Yeah. So this is how we're gonna wrap up the show. We wanted to do a Storm report. It's the most fun, but we're also gonna put this to our Red Wings fans, and they don't, have the same terms that we have. For us, it's the tropical depression, tropical storm, and then the hurricane, worst to best. For the Wings, it's the terms. I couldn't come up with the overall name of how we would do this, but for you guys, from worst to best, the Wings are either grounded, taxiing, because they're either going up or they're coming down, and then flying high. Red Wings flying high.
We call it the METAR.
So what's that?
A METAR it's a real aviation thing. It's the Meteorological Aerodrome Report. It's basically your weather report if you're going to go out flying.
Love it, Brad. See, that's again, guys. What do I tell you? The brains of the operation. I've been thinking.
You didn't lie.
I've been thinking a week about how we were going to call this for you guys, and Brad comes up with it just like that.
When the Canes go down 2-0 5 minutes into the game, and I say I'm going flight simming, I mean I'm going flight simming.
Yeah, it's awesome, and we're going to do this. We're going to do this. I love this. We've all been in hockey drafts, all of us. So we're going to do this snake draft situation. So we're going to go Wings number 1, Canes number 1, Wings number 2, Canes number 2, and then back and then forth again. We're going to start at the bottom, get all the bad stuff out first, and then let's all finish on a good note, and then we'll wrap up the show. Again, I don't know if we want to do rock, paper, scissors on your guys, who's going to be Wings number 1 and then Wings number 2. Brad I'll have him as Canes number 1. He's always number 1. He's the captain. I'm the assistant captain here. So we'll go like that. You guys want to rock, paper, scissors this? I can see you both. Or do you want to give up that number 1 spot or number 1 spot?
You go ahead, Greg.
There you go. Wings.
Well, I get to start with the worst, eh?
Yeah. The worst case. You get to say the best though at the very end. So there you go. That's it, one for the other. Who's grounded? Who or what is grounded with the Wings?
Honestly, their penalty kill. It's been a sore spot all season. I know you were just talking about the Canes and their power play. Well, that's what Detroit is with their penalty kill, because I don't think they're last anymore. I think they moved all the way up to 31st in efficiency, but it's a train wreck back there. I don't know. It seems they have a different penalty killing system every week. Sometimes they're aggressive. Sometimes they're sitting back in a tight box. It's just nothing works. And some of that goaltending, they're not getting the saves when they need them, but the structure of the penalty kill has just been horrible all year, and it's cost them games.
Well, that's a pretty accurate assessment. See, that's why we have the best guests. They know what they're talking about. Brad, on to you. Tropical depression. It's going to be tough because, being 8-2 in your last 10, and we do these on the regular, so it's always difficult. But where do you want to go with this one?
As long as we have a power play, it's never difficult, sir.
Yeah, true.
The Canes' power play has fallen to 5 points. Actually, it's worse as of yesterday. Hold on, let me look. It's going to be worse as of yesterday. Since January 1st. The Hurricanes' power play is at, let's see, oh, it's up. I lied. It's 7.6 whole percent. Amazing. 7 points. So once every 5 games, you score a power play goal. Congratulations, boys.
Yeah, Hall's power play goal there. I did actually recover from the fainting before the end of the game, which was nice.
It was 5.6% regular, and less than that. It was a little lower than that net power play because they've given up some shorties. It was 5.4%.
Yeah,
you got to change something. This is what I complained about with Stevie Y, right? You're doing the middling thing. Do the big thing. Do something really obnoxious. Put 5 forwards out there. Put 5 defensemen. I don't care. Put Ghost down low and put Walker at the ball. I don't know what it is, but do something different for gosh sakes.
Yeah, I hear you. Shane, grounded for the Wings. Where are you at?
Well, I definitely agree with Greg about the whole penalty kill for sure. I don't know. I haven't had an opportunity to watch as many Red Wing games this year as I've liked, but the ones that I have watched, I haven't seen a lot of discipline from this young team. It seems to me they're taking a lot of undisciplined penalties that put them in that position where they need to suddenly kill a power play that they can't kill.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, you know what, that the one feeds into the other, doesn't
Yeah.
it? I mean, if you can't keep your discipline, then you're stuck penalty killing. And if you can't kill off the penalties, well, then you're in big trouble.
And I don't know what their power play percentage is, but I don't think it's up there either. And I know the last game I watched when the Red Wings were killing a penalty, they had them listed as 32nd in penalty killing.
That's tough in a league like this when, as Brad mentioned, Chicago and San Jose are in there. Yikes. So I get to do the tropical depression and tropical storm back to back here before we send it back up the line. Tropical depression for me, and this is kind of cheap and cheesy, but it's injuries, and one in particular that scares the crap out of me, and that's Seth Jarvis and what happened last night. And it was a former Kane that took him down, as I recall. Jarvis, hustling that little burst of speed in on the penalty kill, and not only is he hauled down, this all happened in the same play. Okay, all of it, one play. He's hauled down. The player, the King, then leans on his neck, like wrenches his neck as he's going down. So Jarvis's neck is tilted. Then after the fall, the King's stick hits him in the face. Okay. And then that's not enough. Now you've got to go slamming into the boards with a whiplash that would put anyone out forever. And Seth Jarvis is tough. He played all last season with a gummed up arm and in the playoffs with a busted finger. Like, the kid is tough, but you can't ask for all of that to happen. Then you throw in the other injuries and illnesses and so forth. And it's depressing. And especially scary. There's times where I love Jarvis because of how hard he plays. There's times where, I mean, that game was 6-0. It was 6-0 at that time. Jarvie, this was a crap game. You don't have to go all out now or put yourself in that, but that's who he is. It's why we love him, but the danger is there. And we don't know yet. I mean, Rod, who always says the upper body injuries are from the top of your head to your toes. The lower body injury is from your toes all the way to the top of your head. He's so deceptive. I mean, it could be anywhere. It could be anything. And after the game, he's like, yeah, he could be all right. I don't know if he saw the tape when he said he could be all right. There's no way he's all right. I just, ugh. So injuries is what it is for me, because especially going into the playoffs, we will need all hands on deck. There's no question. Everyone's going to have to be going. My tropical storm for me, I've got to say is Jankowski. He comes in as an afterthought on the trade deadline and became the only player in league history to score 100% shooting on his first 4 shots. He had 4 shots on net and 4 goals. Oh, and then yesterday in a nothing game, he also added another. The kid plays hard, and he plays heavy, great in the dot. I love the way he plays. He's not up in the Hurricane level just yet, but man, he's not he's not as depressing as the power play either. And that's the tropical storm for me. It's your turn, Shane. Who is taxiing, either going up or coming down, either direction? Who or what for you for the Wings?
I am a big Raymond fan.
Oh, you should be. Thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't mean me.
Oh, well, actually, you as well. I am.
Oh,
a fan
okay.
of you as well. Yeah. In particular, him and Larkin. But I really like Raymond's play. That kid impresses me. Um, I like. I don't ever see him being like a superstar, but I see him being one of those players that's always contributing when he needs to be contributing. You know, I see him being part of the future of that team.
There you go, Brad. Tropical storm.
This is going to be weird considering that this player had a 720 save percentage yesterday.
Oof.
But the Hurricanes goaltending, since January 1st, they both have a sub 2.5 goals against and save percentage is over 900. And since March 1st, Anderson's at a 938 with a 161 goals against. And even with the debacle yesterday and that 720 save percentage, Kochetkov is at 912 for the month with a 2.18 goals allowed. That's phenomenal goaltending. That's what we've been asking for the whole year.
Yeah.
Keep it up.
Keep it up. Greg, taxiing for the Wings, and then immediately afterwards, who's flying high for the Wings? Start taxiing, coming down, going up. What's the situation?
I think Patrick Kane would be who I'd put in the taxing thing. Like, he struggled so much at the end, or not at the beginning of the season. I mean, like, he looked like a shell of himself. Like, we're thinking they brought him back, and is he having kind of some lingering injury issues or whatever it was? But I think the second half of the season, we got the Patrick Kane that we're used to seeing. He's flying out there. He's handling that puck. He's exactly kind of what you expect of Patrick Kane. Like, he's kind of, I think he's going a little over a point a game clip here the last 20, 25 games, and which is what you needed from him and what you expect of him. So I think he's delivering what you expect, I guess. So he'd be my taxiing.
And who's flying high?
Flying high, I think I was having trouble like trying to narrow it down to just one of them. But so I'm gonna kind of the young guys. Like, you got Moritz Seider, Simon Edvinsson, Marco Kasper, Lucas Raymond, who Shane mentioned. Like, those guys, like even Elmer Soderblom, since he's come up here lately. Those young guys, like, there is a solid future yet. Albert Johansson, a couple weeks ago, he scored a beautiful goal. Like, didn't look like a defenseman. He looked like Steve Yzerman, moving in close to the net. Like, their young guys have stepped up, and that's all you can ask for. Like, especially Casper. Like, under Lalonde, he was kind of not being used right. Vince McClellan came in, put him on left wing with Raymond and Larkin, and it kind of built up his confidence. And now, since Andrew Kopp went down, he's centering Kane into Brinket, and just looked such a completely different player.
Yeah, I love
the start
Casper.
of the season. Yeah. He is dynamite.
And guys, Steve Yzerman listens to the show, and he's cracking on you both now. The Yzer plan, eh? Not working, eh? Look at our future, Greg. You're contradicting yourself. Look at the future I've got, these young guys. We'll just tell Steve, Steve, thank you for listening to the show. But we're the ones, we're not running this show. We're just observing from the outside, and we know a lot of hockey, but you know more in your pinky than we all do, and that's combined. So, Brad, where are we at here in your mind? Who's at hurricane force? Who or what?
a strong argument could be made for Mark Jankowski, who was brought in as like the forgotten guy on trade deadline day and is still shooting 71.4% with 5 goals and no assists, which I love. Selfish hockey. We need more of those guys, right?
Yeah.
Roslovic was doing that for a while. Now Jankowski's picked up the torch. But I'm going to go with Jesperi Kotkaniemi. Jesperi's, he's doing everything right. It was between him and Jackson Blake, who equally is deserving. But KK finally looks like he is settled in. It looks like he's built up some confidence. I think he's playing really well overall. I like the things that he's doing. And if he can continue to play that way, it makes the need for a true 2C lessened. Not that we still couldn't use somebody. It'd be nice to move him maybe down the lineup, especially when Stahl retires. But at least that can now be put off for another day if he keeps playing the way that he's playing.
All right, Shane, flying high for the Wings. Where are you at?
Oh, I don't know. That's a real tough one. I'd have to honestly say I don't see much flying high for the Wings. Maybe I should have saved Raymond for the top spot. Yeah, I don't know.
You can do that too if you want. I mean,
well, yeah, I might have to. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'll never jump off the bandwagon. I'll always follow the team. There'll always be things about them I love. But right now, I feel like I'm observing the whole team on a slow taxi, trying to decide whether they want to take off and see what happens or whether they should maybe go back to the hangar and do some repairs before they try flying.
I love that.
That's kind of where I am right now.
Yeah, you know what? And that's absolutely fine. And I love your acceptance of the theme because that was outstanding. There's so many different ways we could have done this.
It'll make their next Stanley Cup win all the more wonderful.
There you go. See, and there's the fan that I know and love coming out. For me, look, the Hurricane for me, and again, I can't just pick one player. Again, it's the recency bias. Shane, you were having trouble coming up with the Hurricane because of the recency bias, how they've struggled. And the Hurricanes, they're playing amazing. I mean, 8-2, and they're just playing so much better since Four Nations. Let's be honest, they've been really, really great. But if I'm picking Hurricane, I am picking the line, and sadly one of them went down, but Fishy, Blake, and Jarvis put together as the line by Rod. Rod, we lovingly call him Rod Brind'Amour. He never stays with the same line for too long. And one time here, he just decided, you know what? We're going to bump up Blake with Aho and Jarvis and see what happens. And Jackson Blake, I mean, he's not going to get, Rookie of the Year honors. He's not going to get the Calder. He's down, but there are flashes of pure brilliance. I mean, he had a goal against San Jose taken away because he was a millimeter offside on a beautiful pass from Jarvis, who also got the pass from Fishy. And he beat that young Shark goaltender like a rented mule. It was the most beautiful goal that didn't count I've ever seen. It was so good. And I was thinking to myself, how does he get in like that? And it's his quickness. He's not afraid to go to the net. And when you've got guys like Jarvis, who's got a great shot, and actually, what are we, 68, 5-5 in regular season games where Jarvis scores? If Jarvis scores, the Canes win. In fact, I make this joke with Brad all the time. Jarvis scores a goal. We win is the text I said. Like, that's just how it's been. But you put them all together, and Rod has a line that I think, despite the injuries and things that, once we get our injured back in the lineup, I think you might not want to change that line because they've got something there. And it's beautiful to watch. That's my line. Guys, that concludes the final segment. And sadly, it concludes the episode. We could talk with you. First of all, thank you for joining the Storm Cellar. Okay.
Absolutely.
We talk Canes. We talk Canes all the time, and we're tough to listen to for any fan from any other team. We're tough. But when I put it out there to you two and said, let's have a round table and let's talk about history, let's talk about today. And hey, I threw something at you that we hadn't really planned, and you guys picked it up just like that. Great fans, great friends, family. You know what? Not even friends, both of you, family. To me, thank you so much for joining us. This was a great episode.
Thank you for having us.
This was fun. Like, time just flew by. I keep looking, like, what? We've been talking for an hour and a half. Like,
I know.
Feels like 20 minutes.
Pleasure.
Like,
it does. And Brad, we got to do that. I love the round tables because we always, first of all, the fans, like I said, wind beneath the Red Wings, the fuel to the Canes fire. Honestly, this is what it's all about for us. This is our MO, getting the chance to talk to the fans, where they come from, what they're about, and they always have unique, great perspectives. This just drives that point home. Like
100%. This is always fun.
Do we have time for me to share one quick little
always fire away. Fire away.
One of my favorite sports moments of all time, it involves you, Ray, and it has nothing to do with hockey. When we were going,
my God, I bet you I think I know what this is.
I believe it was 1992.
Yeah, okay, I know exactly where you're going.
World Series.
Yeah.
And we were at your apartment while we were going to Mount Royal College, taking broadcasting. And it was the end of the game. And of course, you being so passionate about your sports, you got up and you went to the bedroom. You're like, I can't watch. I'm going to go hide in the bedroom. Then when Joe Carter hit a home run, you heard the rest of us screaming out in the living room. You came bursting out of the bedroom. And I was jumping up and down in the middle of your living room, and you slammed into me and onto the couch. Oh, my God, my ribs were so sore for 2 weeks. I've never seen so much excitement out of anybody in my life.
You know what? I've said this before, Brad, and you know me. I go way beyond superstitious. I am stupid-stitious. And Shane, that started when I couldn't watch the Jays. I believed that I helped the Jays win against Oakland because I didn't watch I was watching the game, didn't watch the last part, and Alomar comes up with that hit. And so I was like, this is the reason why we're going to win. I'm not going to watch. I'll listen, but I'm not going to watch. And I believed that the Jays, I should have got a ring too. And and those hugs, I have like hurt people's backs in celebration. I crushed your ribs. You know what? And I apologize for that, but that was one of the greatest nights. And I thank you for sharing that. The second that you had.
It was so much fun. It's my favorite sports celebration memory of all time.
Oh man. The Red Mile that night too. right after we go.
I can remember. My throat was so hoarse from yelling all night. Three Pete. We were looking for
It was so great. You know what? This is what fandom is all about. This is why we all love sports. Shane, thank you for sharing that. That really, oh my God, I'm almost in tears just laughing about that one. Fantastic. What a great show. Guys, you've heard how we close out the show. I'm going to let you guys do your team, and then, or maybe we'll do our team, you do your team, you get the final word in this. Brad, there is nothing else to say other than go Canes.
Go Canes.
Get better wings.
That's our rallying cry. Next year.
Yeah, next year. There's always next year.
Exactly.
Love it.
There you go. 8 o'clock start tonight for KNX.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Ray and I greatly appreciate your support in helping us produce an informative and fun podcast. As always, we'd like to say that we believe hockey is for everyone. Whether you're a Caniac or a bunch of jerks, doesn't matter, as we're just a couple of jerks anyway. We would love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions. We will do our best to answer anything hockey related. You can reach us via email at stormcellar97@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at stormcellar97, and on Facebook at facebook.com/stormcellar97.